Chapter 556 Juzi's terrifying plots. The Sun Moon Empire's absolute fighting ability was not the only reason they were able to win all their battles and eventually conquer the Heavenly Soul Empire. Their incredibly powerful surveillance and counter-surveillance abilities were also important contributing factors to their victories. When the war had just started, the Heavenly Soul Empire was actually able to put up a decent fight. After all, it had a huge amount of reserves as an old empire. In addition, it had the support of the Body Sect, which gave it a significant boost in its capabilities. However, their blows were often useless against the Sun Moon Empire. For strange reasons, they were always unable to deal a heavy blow to the Sun Moon Empire. On the other hand, the Sun Moon Empire was always able to identify the crucial weaknesses within the Heavenly Soul Empire and deal heavy blows based on these weaknesses. Over time, the Heavenly Soul Empire could only succumb to its demise. This time round, the blows which were suffered by the inner parts of the Sun Moon Empire were like a mirror image of the battle between the Sun Moon Empire and the Heavenly Soul Empire. However, even until now, they were still unable to determine where exactly their enemies were. However, Juzi saw an extremely familiar name on the letter. Who are you? There was only one piece of information which was certain from the message that was handed over to them from Radiant City, and that information was Hua Yuao's name. Yuao, was that really you? Even though Juzi was thinking about him, her face remained calm and composed. The old man on the left said, "This is truly a big problem. We must figure out what exactly is going on soon. Otherwise, we have no way to determine where our next course of action should be. Marshal, we must not retreat in times like this. Now that our troops have rested for a good 10 days after taking over the whole of the Heavenly Soul Empire, our morale is at its peak. This is the best time for us to attack, no matter where we strike. If we allow the internal affairs of our empire to influence our decision, we will not be able to achieve as much as we want. This is the perfect time to conquer the whole continent." Juzi nodded gently. The old man on the right also nodded. He said, "Our Majesty has the protection of the Imperial Soul Engineer Legion. As long as they stay within Radiant City will never fall. Even if those Soul Engineers were able to infiltrate our territory, their numbers are ultimately limited. They can only do so much damage to our installations with their 2 Soul Engineer legions. However, we have millions of troops at our command. We can definitely do more damage than them. Elder Su, watch your words." Juzi frowned as she reprimanded him. Elder Su revealed a faint smile and said, "When the general is away from the emperor, the general must make decisions based on his or her own discretion. Marshal, you must be decisive and not allow this matter to affect you. I believe His Majesty will understand your decision. Our tactics are already finalized. If we were to make any amendments now, it would truly be disadvantageous for all of us." Juzi sighed and said, "Of course I know what things are like right now. However, how can we fight confidently when our Majesty is in danger? I believe all of you are elders within the Hall of Consecration. I need some time to think this through. We should not rush out a decision on important matters like this. Otherwise, even if we were to emerge victorious on the front lines, we will still be slaughtered by the masses when we return to the Sun Moon Empire. Who would dare to do that?" Elder Su was obviously an ill-tempered old man. He immediately strode forward as his aura surged. He said coldly, "You have been serving the Empire wholeheartedly, and have put your female body at the front lines. We were only able to achieve all that we have with your intelligent tactics. If those old fools try to be funny, I will kill their entire families." Even though his words were very extreme, the 5 other Class 9 Soul Engineers in the tent did not go against him. Instead, they nodded gently. They might not share the same ill temper as him, but they all agreed with what he said. Juzi stood up as her face revealed a gentle smile. She nodded towards the 6 Class 9 Soul Engineers and said, "I thank you all for your support. I will try my best to make a decision as soon as possible. The troops must not catch wind of this news. I will need all 6 of you to keep this a secret." "Roger." The 6 Class 9 Soul Engineers answered as they bowed before her. The first worshipped on the left nodded and said, "Marshal, we shall leave you to rest. We will now take our leave. Regardless of your decision, we will definitely support you." "Okay." The 6 worshipped left one by one, leaving Juzi alone in the humongous commander's tent. As Juzi sat on her seat, the fearsome and authoritative look on her face started to fade. Now, she started to look like a lady once again. She sat there in a daze for a good long moment before standing up again. She moved over to the sand model at the side of the tent before strategizing their next move. The Sun Moon Empire army she was leading was currently in a very special position. This position granted her 3 different options. The first and most direct option was to attack Shrek City. However, everyone knew that this was not the wisest decision. Juzi was naturally able to see the problems the Prime Minister had identified. In addition, she really wanted to avoid any conflict with Shrek Academy. She knew how important it was to him. After the previous incident where her son was abducted, she had changed a lot. A lot of the things she used to value were now viewed with less importance. And some of the things she had tried her best to suppress in the past were now gushing from her heart. There were several delicately crafted little flags on the sand model. Those flags were important chess pieces which she had laid out across their area of operation. Most of them were gathered at the border of the Douluo Empire. No one could really understand the intentions behind her strategic arrangements. Even though the 6 worshipped could guess what she was trying to do, they were ultimately guesses. From the current situation, it was wisest for them to attack the Douluo Empire. This was because both the Douluo Empire and the Heavenly Soul Empire bordered the Sun Moon Empire. By conquering the Douluo Empire, 4/5 of the entire continent would belong to the Sun Moon Empire. Of course, the Douluo Empire could not be compared to the Heavenly Soul Empire. Its area was similar to that of the Sun Moon Empire, and was equivalent to the sum of the Heavenly Soul Empire and the Doulu Empire. It was an empire which had lasted for 10,000 years, and no one really knew how many reserves and resources it had. The Douluo Empire also had the White Tiger Jeep waiting at the borders, with 100,000 troops ready for battle. Juzi had positioned 300,000 troops at the border of the Douluo Empire. There was a sole tool deployment area for every 50,000 troops. Hence, they occupied 6 different locations of tactical importance. This arrangement kept the Douluo Empire's troops at bay, as they did not dare to make any moves. At the same time, she had arranged for 2 Soul Engineer legions to be on standby to reinforce any group when necessary. The Douluo Empire had tried to test the waters a few times, but had always returned in defeat. There was a similar arrangement to the Doulu Empire. From the look of things, Juzi's army had already established their positions against all their enemies. They could advance to attack and retreat to defend at will. These were all accomplished by Juzi in just a few months. Before she had led the armies out for their conquest, she had already started making these arrangements. Even though the battle seemed very chaotic and messy, everything was, in fact, under her control. Juzi was not only adept at unorthodox military tactics. This time round, she had also displayed her ability to command and lead on the battlefield. She had only used 5 Soul Engineer legions to destroy the bulk of the coalition army formed by the Heavenly Soul Empire and Doulu Empires. She was even able to restrict the abilities of the Shrek Academy and keep them from fighting at their full potential. The remaining troops of the Heavenly Soul Empire did not actually perish in the battle. They had merely retreated back into Shrek City after seeing how they were fighting a losing battle. After expanding, Shrek City was definitely capable of housing the 70,000 strong army. At the same time, it also accepted quite a few elites and powerful soul masters from the Heavenly Soul Empire. However, the troops from the Doulu Empire could not retreat into Shrek City. After all, they still had to defend their empire. Hence, they had no choice but to return to the Doulu Empire and defend their borders. In this short amount of time, Juzi was constantly running through possible permutations for her battle tactics in her head. The Douluo Empire and the Doulu Empire had been on high alert and extremely tense for the past few days as they braced themselves for the Sun Moon Empire's attack. Conversely, her troops had been recharging and resting for the past 10 days. With their improved morale, they were in their best possible state. "Yuao, is it really you?" Juzi muttered to herself. "If it really is you, I wouldn't find it strange at all. It was a brilliant move you made there. How can a general act based on his or her indiscretion? This is a complete joke. Shu Tianran would never stop controlling me even if I am at the front lines." She revealed a cold look on her face as she smiled. "Shu Tianran, I wonder if you have been injured again. It seems like all of my preparations were appropriate. It's time to unveil some of these things. Yuao, thank you for helping me create this condition. I will wait for you here. I am really looking forward to seeing you again, even if it's on the battlefield." Whenever she mentioned Hua Yuao's name in her heart, the coldness in her eyes would be replaced by a warm and loving look as a satisfied smile crept across her face. She gradually extended her right hand and she clenched her fist above the sand model. Everything was under her control. 2 hours later, the War God Emperor's orders started to pass around the entire army. Every single officer was to report to the commander's tent to receive their next set of orders. A very solemn and serious aura was emanating from the commander's tent. Juzi was wearing her armor and red gold helmet as she sat in her seat. There was another person seated on her left, who was completely concealed in a long black robe. Even though he had been trying to conceal it, the people around him could still sense a very creepy and frightening aura coming from his body. Another person was standing behind the man in black. If Hua Yuao were here, he might be able to recognize her. She was none other than the vice leader of the Holy Ghost Church, Feng Ling. The only person who could get Feng Ling to stand behind him must be the leader of the Holy Ghost Church, Zhongli Wu. Yes, Zhongli Wu was actually at the front lines with the rest of the army. The other powerful cultivators of the Sun Moon Empire, including Ding Hingchen, were standing beneath Zhongli Wu and Feng Ling. Even though the cultivators from the Holy Ghost Church could not be seen, that did not mean they were not present. Another group of formidable individuals was standing on the other side. One of them was the leader of the 6th Class 9 Soul Engineers who had met with Juzi previously. In total, there were more than 20 titled Douluo and Class 9 Soul Engineers within the commander's tent. Other than these individuals, the higher-ups from the armies were all present as they lined themselves up according to their ranks. They were the commanders of the hand that protects the nation, the foremost powerful Soul Engineer legions in the Sun Moon Empire, the commanders of the normal Soul Engineer legions, and the other relevant commanders respectively. All of these people constituted the military leadership class within the Sun Moon Empire. Juzi nodded at the group of people before her and said, after much rest, our army's morale is sky high. Now is definitely the best time for us to strike our enemies. Listen up. The 1st, 3rd, and 5th legions are to make their way towards Shrek City and besiege our enemies. The Evil Eye Soul Engineer Legion and the Terracor Soul Engineer Legion are to cooperate with their movements and set up camp 50 kilometers away from Shrek City. After establishing your Soul Tool deployment areas, get ready to attack the city. After the camps have been established by our legions, the rest of you will proceed according to our planned movement lineup and wait for further orders. After hearing Juzi's words, Zhongli Wu was startled. Previously, he had actually requested to use the troops on Shrek City after setting up camp here. However, Juzi had rejected his request. He did not expect the War God Empress to finally decide on attacking Shrek City. This was good news for the Holy Ghost Church. They had always viewed Shrek City as a thorn in their side. Even though he was a little surprised by her orders, Zhongli Wu was not against them. Hence, the army collapsed their tents and marched towards Shrek City with morale high. If the aura they were exuding were material, it would probably have crushed the city walls. By evening, the entire Sun Moon Empire army had set up camp 50 kilometers from Shrek City. They were able to surround half of the city. However, there was no reaction from Shrek City. Their doors remained firmly shut. As nightfall descended, a series of explosions awakened Shrek City. Lines of brilliant flames illuminated the dark sky as they formed a series of characters which were visible from any corner in Shrek City. Give us Hua Yuao within 10 days, or we will kill everyone within the city. As he floated peacefully in the night sky, Hua Yuao gazed at the bright characters in the sky and frowned. He was just about to reach the Shrek Academy after his long flight. It was not the kind of greeting he was expecting. To hand me over in 10 days' time. Does the Sun Moon Empire actually want to trap Shrek City? Tang Clan was also surprised by the sight before them. She turned around and shot a puzzled look at Hua Yuao. Isn't Juzi the commander of the 3 armies? What is she planning to do? Hua Yuao shook his head. Let's go. Let's discuss it after we return to the academy. As he spoke, he held on to Tang Clan and the Blue Silver Emperor before speeding off in the direction of Shrek Academy. With his imitation soul skill and spiritual interference domain, he was able to return to Shrek City without alarming anyone. Before he returned to the academy, he first headed back to the Tang Sect. After stepping into the gates, he gathered all the higher-ups. This is when Bei Bei saw the Blue Silver Emperor, which was standing by Hua Yuao's side, his jaw dropped. Even though he was not 100% sure that it was the Blue Silver Emperor that could save Tang Yao's life, he was pretty confident that Hua Yuao had managed to bring it back. Hua Yuao said, Eldest senior brother, the Sun Moon Empire has surrounded Shrek City. We should head over to the academy immediately. This is the Blue Silver Emperor. I managed to find it in the Sun Moon Empire. 3rd senior brother, can I trouble you to prepare accommodations for him? Eldest senior brother, let's head over to the academy. After we have confirmed the situation at the academy, I will come back to treat teacher Xiaoya. Bei Bei's excitement was apparent as his breathing became rapid. However, as the big brother within Tang Sect, he was able to control his emotions and stay composed. He nodded and said, all right, let's head over to the academy. After leaving for such a long time, they were still not able to rest, even though they had just returned. Hua Yuao, Bei Bei, and Tang Wutong ran towards the academy. The rest of them continued with the work which had been left undone during the period of time when they had left the Tang Sect. Very soon, Hua Yuao, Tang Wutong and Bei Bei reached the academy. When they arrived at the gate, they were stopped by 2 figures which leapt in front of them. Who are you? The 2 youths were wearing the Shrek Academy uniform. They were only able to recognize the faces of Hua Yuao and the rest after challenging them. Their eyes widened in disbelief as one of them exclaimed, Senior Huo? Hua Yuao nodded and said, we are going to enter the inner courtyard. This night sentry duty thing has only been added recently, right? It was important to note that the old Shrek Academy never closed their doors. Even at night, they had never employed any defensive measures. That student nodded and replied, that's right. Ever since the Heavenly Soul Empire fell, the Academy has been stepping up our security measures. We are going through very difficult times indeed. What? The 3 of them exclaimed in unison. None of them had known that the Heavenly Soul Empire had been conquered. After hearing the news from the student, they were all utterly shocked. No wonder the Sun Moon Empire could push their troops to Shrek City. The Heavenly Soul Empire has really fallen. Even though Hua Yuao was not a citizen of the Heavenly Soul Empire, Bei Bei was. Suddenly, a heavy silence fell across the group. Tang Wutong broke the silence and asked, is there any procedure we need to undergo before entering the academy? The 2 students did not dare to look straight at Tang Wutong's beautiful face. They shook their heads frantically. No. No. Please proceed. The 3 of them entered the academy and arrived at Sea God's Lake. All of them leapt up at the same time and flew directly to Sea God's Island. The news of the Heavenly Soul Empire's fall was simply too shocking. Hua Yuao could still remember the Heavenly Soul Empire's set up at the front lines when he personally visited the area previously. Even though they could not be compared to the Sun Moon Empire's powerful Soul Engineer legions, they should not have been able to be destroyed so quickly. Its demise meant that there was no longer a buffer between Shrek City and the Sun Moon Empire's troops. At the same time, it also meant that the Sun Moon Empire was one step closer towards their dream of conquering the entire continent. Next, they could target the Dalu or Douluo Empire as they wished. Things were truly looking bad for the other empires on the continent. Hua Yuao and the others had thought that their efforts in the Sun Moon Empire could influence the battle at the front line. However, they did not expect the Heavenly Soul Empire to crumble so easily. This made their attempts to induce fear and panic within the Sun Moon Empire less effective than they could have been. Even though Hua Yuao was frowning, he stopped at the golden tree and kneeled before it along with Tang Wutong. Bei Bei kneeled down as he joined them to pay their respects. Teacher, we have returned. I hope we are not too late. Hua Yuao kowtowed to the golden tree thrice as he greeted it respectfully. The Sea God's pavilion was well illuminated. When Hua Yuao, Tang Wutong and Bei Bei walked into the hall, all of the elders were already there. There was also another familiar face present in the hall. She was none other than Princess Wei Na from the Heavenly Soul Empire. After seeing the 3 people walk in, Princess Wei Na could not help but stand up. Compared to the previous time they met her, she seemed to have aged quite a bit. Her skin had lost its original youthful radiance, and her face had grown a lot paler. One could see the sadness and sorrow in her eyes. You owl. Wei Na greeted softly as tears welled up in her eyes. After seeing that Princess Wei Na was present in the hall, Hua Yuao felt an inexplicable sense of sadness in his heart. This meant that the Heavenly Soul Empire had really fallen to the Sun Moon Empire. If not, she would never have been able to break Shrek Academy's tradition and enter the hall as someone who was not a member of the Sea God's Pavilion. Elder Sun waved his hand at the 3 of them and said, the 3 of you are just in time. Please sit. Yes, Hua Yuao answered politely as the 3 of them sat down. All the elders had very worried and solemn looks on their face. This was going to be one of the biggest challenges the Academy had ever faced. It was probably more difficult than the Beast Wave which started in the Great Stardow Forest previously. During the Beast Wave, Shrek Academy was at most involved in traditional combat. However, this time around, they were going up against some of the top Soul Tool technologies in the entire Douluo continent. No one would dare to say they were confident of winning this battle. Elder Sun looked at Hua Yuao and asked, did you all see the fireworks outside? Hua Yuao nodded. To his surprise, Elder Sun actually revealed a gentle smile. Elder Sun said calmly, "You should be able to tell from the fireworks that your team has achieved a fair bit of success. Even though your operations in the Sun Moon Empire were not enough to get them to retreat, at the very least, they caused them some panic. If not, they would not have sent their troops to surround Shrek City. So why don't you share what all of you have done with us?" Ever since he had become an ultimate Douluo, Elder Sun had become a lot more composed and steady. In fact, Huoyua felt that he was starting to resemble Elder Mu. Even though the current situation was extremely pressing, Elder Sun did not ask them for their opinions on how to handle their enemies. Instead, he asked them how their trip was, and whether they bumped into any significant problems. His wisdom was exemplified in his decision to change the topic so as to improve the tense atmosphere. Huoyua said, "After leaving the academy, I headed directly to the Mingdo mountain range, following which, I entered the Sun Moon Empire." As they listened to his story, the elders nodded along. They were particularly moved when he got to the part about their attack on the Radiant City, and how they had bombed the palace with a Class 9 stationary cell cannon shell. After hearing what Huoyua said, the princess was so excited that she grabbed the edge of the table by her side. However, Huoyua omitted the parts about the spectral demiplane during his report. After all, this was his greatest secret. No matter what, the princess was still an outsider. After leaving Radiant City, we took a short rest to reorganize ourselves. Because we didn't hear about the news, we returned. Just now, we caught wind of news about how the Heavenly Soul Empire. Elder Sun nodded. "I see. The Sun Moon Empire would never have changed their battle plans if all of you were to only attack those normal cities. But you exceeded everyone's expectations by successfully attacking Radiant City. After that, the Sun Moon Empire had no choice but to view all of you with great importance. It also seems like your team left some tracks behind which allowed them to trace you. Hence, they are demanding us to turn you over to them within 10 days. Huoyua thought for a while before saying, "Elder Sun, I don't think it's that simple." Elder Sun seemed to be curious about what Huoyua was hinting at. "Tell me what you think about this." Huoyua said, "I don't think it's very likely for the Sun Moon Empire to pass orders to the front line to demand that the Academy turn me in. After all, they would probably think I'm still in the Sun Moon Empire. Also, it would be impossible for the Academy to contact me in 10 days. Furthermore, they should know that it would be futile to ask the Academy to turn me in." Zhang Sun said, "Could they be using this as an excuse to attack the Academy?" Once again, Huoyua shook his head. "I don't think so. The time they are giving us is way too long. 10 days is considered very long for a battle that uses soul tools. If they are willing to give us 10 days to turn me in, it doesn't look like they intend to attack us directly. Of course, there's still a possibility that they're just trying to numb us before launching an attack. But from the looks of things, I think that's quite unlikely. Why is that?" Princess Weina asked curiously. Huoyua said, "The current commander of the Sun Moon Empire's 3 armies is the War God Empress. I actually know her personally from back when I was in the Sun Moon Empire for the exchange program. She was my senior sister back then, as we learned and studied under a common teacher. Hence, we have a pretty decent relationship." While he talked about his relationship with Juzi, Tang Wutong pinched his thigh under the table. Of course, Huoyua did not show any expression of pain on his face as he continued. "This senior sister of mine was not particularly gifted in building soul tools or cultivating. However, she possessed immense gifts when it came to military affairs. Previously, she was the one who came up with the entire plan to feint an attack on the Mingdo mountain range before striking the Heavenly Soul Empire. After penetrating the borders of the Heavenly Soul Empire, she returned to the Sun Moon Empire to give birth to their prince. During that time, the Sun Moon Empire's army was particularly quiet due to her absence. However, she has now returned. She is very clever with her tactics, and does not indulge in any meaningless battles. If she knew it was impossible for the Academy to turn me in, there must be some deeper reason why she planted her troops around Shrek City. In my opinion, it isn't likely that they would attack the Academy directly." Dean Yan said, "But we cannot eliminate this possibility. Otherwise, if they were to launch an all-out attack on us, the blood and sweat which has been invested in the Academy for the past 10,000 years would be destroyed in an instant. We cannot afford to let that happen." Huoyua sighed and nodded. This is exactly why Juzi is so smart. She understands how we have no choice but to rescue Shrek City and the Academy, and hence employ this method to control us. In fact, at this very instant, both Dalu Empire and Douluo Empire would love to see the Sun Moon Empire do this to us. Why is that? Tang Wutong could not help but ask. Huoyua explained, "It's very simple. If the Sun Moon Empire were to attack us, how can Shrek Academy not defend itself? This would make us in our location an important pivot in the war. The only way for us to stand a chance would be to gather all the troops from the Daluo and Douluo empires. And since both empires are fairly close to us, they can definitely send their troops over in 10 days. After hearing his explanation, a heavy silence fell upon the room. They were all beginning to sense the true intentions behind her moves. This was an elaborate yet overt scheme designed by Juzi. By threatening the enemy's allies would have to rescue them. This would create a tactical space for Juzi's troops to attack or retreat. No one would know what she had in mind for her next move. If Juzi were to attack, Shrek Academy would definitely not be able to fend them off by themselves. Hence, they had to call for external reinforcement. Shrek Academy was simply unable to afford any losses. However, what if the Sun Moon Empire chose to hold their horses and waited out when the reinforcements finally arrived? Or what if they chose to take other actions instead? How should the Academy react? At this instant, the entire Sea Gods Pavilion was quiet. Everyone seemed to be very frustrated and depressed by their current circumstances. The Sun Moon Empire had only moved their troops forward by 50 kilometers and fired some fireworks, but this was enough to cause a headache for Shrek Academy. Even Elder Sun, who was usually extremely calm and composed, started to frown. It was apparent that he was becoming very worried about the circumstances. Shenliner said, "Elder Sun, is it possible for us to get help from the Great Stardo Forest? After all, we have been sharing a pleasant cooperative relationship with them all this while. The Spirit Pagoda is also based in our city. If we can get them to help, it would be a lot easier to stop the Sun Moon Empire from attacking us." Elder Sun shook his head and said, "I know the Beast God the best. It's impossible to ask him to help us. In fact, he can't wait for us humans to kill one another and weaken the human race's power. This would grant soul beasts a greater amount of living space. After all, this battle is mainly taking place between soul masters and soul engineers, who both need soul rings. It would be a blessing for every soul beast if more soul masters were to die." Chen Juojuo said, "Then what if we were to attack instead? After receiving our signal for help, the Daluo Empire and Douluo Empire would definitely send their troops over as fast as possible. Under these circumstances, do you think we would stand a chance if we were to fight them head on with our full power? At the very least, we can stop them from doing other things." Huoyua shook his head and said, "It will be very difficult for us to fight them head on. They would only have to convert their soul tool deployment areas into forts to protect themselves from our attacks. Even if we were eventually able to penetrate their defenses, it would be at great cost. The chances of us doing that are just too slim. Our only advantage is that we have a greater number of individuals who are highly skilled in combat. However, our collective strength is a long way from theirs." Shenliner frowned and said, "Then what should we do? We can't defend, right? It will be hard to defend against them." Tang Wutong suddenly spoke. "I think the best thing for us to do now is wait. We should not ask for help from the Doling and Daluo empires. This will allow them to focus on defending their own borders." After hearing what she said, Huoyua immediately looked at her. This was exactly what he had wanted to suggest. However, he was a little hesitant about voicing this controversial opinion. Why is that so? Elder Sun was surprised by Tang Wutong's suggestion. The other elders did not seem to be very receptive to it either. They did not seem to be very impressed by what she had said. Tang Wutong's suggestion was a quick recipe for the fall of Shrek City. Tang Wutong looked at Huoyua before letting out a cold grunt. "There are some words which might be hard for you to say. Since that's the case, I will help you say them. I suggested this because the chances that Juzi will attack Shrek City are impossibly slim. As long as we allow Huoyua to meet her and convince her that he is truly in the city, she would never order her army to attack Shrek City." Yan Shaosh was still confused by her words. How is that possible? Unless she is scared of Yuao, Tang Wutong pouted before complaining. "She's not afraid of him. In fact, she likes him a lot. I believe she will never harm Yuao. Hence, as long as she knows he is in the city, it is unlikely that she will order her troops to attack it. In my opinion, I believe that her demand for us to turn Huoyua over is but a smokescreen she has created." "What? The elders were very surprised by her words. The war god empress of the Sun Moon Empire actually likes Hua Yuao? This was an unbelievable piece of news. Hua Yuao blushed after hearing what Tang Wutong said. Tang Wutong also realized that her emotions were not very appropriate as she turned around before sticking out her tongue at Hua Yuao. Elder Song, who had been keeping quiet all this while, suddenly interjected. That would be too childish of her. This war is supposed to be part of the Sun Moon Empire's plan to conquer the entire continent. It concerns the lives of millions. I don't think the war god empress would allow her emotions to affect her decisions. After hearing Elder Song's words, the other elders could not help but nod. Tang Wutong's opinion seemed to be born out of her jealousy. It was still hard for them to believe that the commander of the Sun Moon Empire's 3 armies would allow her decisions to be contingent on her feelings for Hua Yuao. It was no longer appropriate for Hua Yuao to add any comments to the conversation. Actually, his thoughts were similar to Tang Wutong's. When he saw the fireworks earlier, he had already guessed that it was a smokescreen set up by Ju Zi. However, she probably hadn't expected him to return to the academy so quickly to see the fireworks. It was a brilliant smokescreen. With over 600,000 troops pressuring and threatening Shrek City, the academy would be forced to make a move. And in moments like this, if he were to make the same suggestion as Tang Wutong, he would only receive the same denigration and disapproval from the elders. Elder Sun lamented, this situation is extremely complex, and we must defend against it at all costs. Shrek City currently has over 100,000 troops. Now that the few of you have returned, we are in much better shape. We need to get the 3 Soul Engineer legions ready for battle as soon as possible. In addition, we need to start preparing our own Soul Tool deployment areas. Lasun, can you inform the Dalu Empire and Doling Empire to step up their defenses, but prepare to assist us when necessary? Roger. Zhang Lasun acknowledged. Roger. Hua Yuao hesitated before agreeing to follow through with the orders. Elder Sun's request was already a compromise between the 2 conflicting opinions. After all, as the master of the Sea Gods Pavilion, he had to prioritize the survival of Shrek City and Shrek Academy. The subsequent discussion pertained to the details about their defense plans. Princess Weina also expressed the support of the remaining Heavenly Soul Empire troops to protect Shrek City. The meeting continued till late into the night. After it ended, Tang Wutong, Hua Yuao and Bei Bei left the academy and returned to the Tang Sect. Bei Bei seemed to be lost in his thoughts before he asked Hua Yuao, Yuao, I feel like something isn't quite right. Doesn't it feel like we're being led on? Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.